Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We are happy to be with you again. And this week, offering our deep appreciation and respect to His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Swami and to His Holiness Sharajaga Gosla Prabhupada and all the Vaishnavas for giving us the opportunity to discuss this leadership issue. As we always mention, our present day problem is the leadership issue. So we'll discuss it, and having access to have the technologies how to become a good leader to ourselves individually and the world at large. It's an important thing. So we're very, very grateful to them and to all who have arranged and carefully attending this discussion. Praying seriously from our heart that we will learn something and become a better month in Slav. So we continue our discussion. Today we are looking at
No, Rishabh, you can tell it.
Can you mute her also?
Yes, Shraddha.
The highlight from previous discussion. And today we are go back. Yeah. We are looking at the highlight for today's discussion. In the previous one, we have discussed this. And today is the present discussion, exercising careful scrutiny. And here we're going to look at determining the underlying cause. Scrutiny means what we carefully look at everything. We carefully look at things, very carefully. And why that is important for a leader, to look at the things very carefully, because we are dealing with conditioned souls. From my experience, from my practical experience, for being in management for many years, what I'm presenting my case, it is difficult to find. Difficult to find a sincere person. Because if I'm really sincere and very honest, I wouldn't have any issue with somebody. So that is the real thing. That is the foundation. If I'm very sincere and a serious person, I wouldn't have any issue with somebody. So for the fact that we have issue with somebody, except in cases where we have a need to address an issue, not really because we want the patient to be condemned. That's a different thing. But in the case which we face every day is that we're not very sincere and straightforward in our dealing. So if I'm presenting my case, I will not ask, I will not tell the person I'm giving my report to my own part. Usually I will cover it. I didn't do anything. I was just doing my own chanting Hare Krishna very nicely, And these people came and slapped me. As case you get. How how can you sit nicely chanting Hare Krishna peacefully, and a mad person, say a mad person, will a mad person come and slap you? If the person is not a mad person, that means that you have done something that the person is responsible. But when we are reporting a case, I will not be sincere to present my case. I'm very sorry. I insulted this Prabhu and he responded, and because of that, I'm feeling guilty. So I'll come to a report so they can call him and help me beg for forgiveness. We don't really have a case like that. Therefore, it is very important to look at this thing, determining the underlying cause. Look at things very carefully before we respond. Especially for leader, because whatever thing will say, whatever thing will do, it automatically becomes a standard. So it is very important for leader to see beyond the physical always to be successful. Then we look at identifying the universal principles. The principles which apply to everybody, not just sectarian thing, not just one person. What is good for me? For example, water is a universal need for everybody. So if water is good for me, then it should be good for others. I shouldn't block the chance for others to have access to that. Each person has an energy of God. Yes, as a Hare Krishna devotee, we hear this philosophy. The practical aspect is lacking, but still, the philosophy is there. And then we look at the life force in all creation. Ultimately, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all beauty, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pleasure seeking, this is our nature. It is not strange, it's not a new thing. As someone that living entities are looking for pleasure. It is natural because it's part of the soul. Suffering is not natural. Disease is not natural. Birth and death is not natural. What is natural is eternity. So we look for that. It is natural that we don't want to even change the body, even though we have a philosophy which everybody knows that we have our philosophies that we are eternal. We should feel afraid when we are to change the body or when we are nearing change the body. It's a different thing together. So we'll look at that. And then we try to identify the Krishna heart, the super soul. And then the value of universal principles. How are they necessary for our lives if you can apply them? So these topics we're going to go through today. Not like last week, we spent longer time. Today is not going to be as long as last week. So don't be afraid. So we begin exercising careful scrutiny. Today, everyone lives in an extremely interdependent world. Because of advances in communications and a massive scale of technological development, effect from events in one part of the globe can often be instantaneously felt in another. Also, because modern society is so complex, the causes of a particular situation may not be readily apparent, despite the fact that the effects are easily noticed. Look at the screen, you see what different ways of communications. So many. We have leg book. Okay, we don't have leg book. We don't have a feet book, but we have face. We have Facebook. We have Yahoo. We have varieties of things, YouTube, and so many processes, so many ways we can communicate this very easily. And we are so closely related these days that whatever happens in any part of the globe today can easily be affected, can be experienced by anyone else from a very far distant place. So technologically, we have gotten very far, but that does not mean that our anxiety has been reduced. Rather, anxiety is increasing. All right. Determining the underlying causes. Leaders who seek positive, lasting goals should endeavor to eliminate superficiality in all the interactions, addressing each problem at its root. Those who rely primarily on facades ultimately encounter serious difficulty. To avoid such pitfalls, we should exercise careful scrutiny, probing beneath the surface to discover the true cause of each effect. Why this is necessary, as I mentioned before, if we don't look at the cause, which is not mostly seen, we simply deal with the instrument, which will also produce more problems because we're not dealing with the issue from the root. We're dealing with the issue from the surface. A leader, as we mentioned before, should be very careful because whatever we do, it will affect everybody. Everything we do must affect everybody. And people under us will really feel disappointed if they see that we are not properly looking deep into a situation before discussing. So we see all the leaders, including the personality of God, Machanda, and all the great personalities in history, they will never deal with an issue until they check from their ministers. They get a feedback from the minister. Try to look deeply into an issue to see exactly what causes the problem before acting on it. And I remember one time in the Bible, a lady delivered a baby. And another lady who has been desperately looking for a child became very envious of her neighbor. She became very envious of her neighbor who was pregnant. So when that lady delivered, of course they were not living close to each other, but they know in the community. This story is there in the Bible. So when this lady delivered, the other lady who has been desperately looking for a baby and was able to get, became very envious and she stole the baby. The matter was brought to the king. When the king called for both ladies, all of them presented their case a perfect way to confirm that. Each of them presented a case to show that they are the real mother of the baby. The king, being very experienced, who is not looking things from the surface, deeply contemplated, and because of his training, because of his sincere nature in dealing with every situation, got a wisdom. Both of them had presented their case very perfectly. So it was externally very difficult to find out who is the real mother. In fact, the fake one was even more powerful than the real mother in presenting a situation. So the king deeply thought of the situation and he came to realization. A leader needs this introspection. A leader needs to be a spiritualist, not just an ordinary mundane person. Why? Because we need wisdom to be able to read perfectly. All the powerful personalities who have led the world perfectly representing God, they are not just ordinary people, they are called Raja Rishis. They have wisdom, they are connected with divine. Therefore, they have ability to understand things beyond the surface. So the king said, all right, now I have no doubt that both of you are bona fide mothers of this baby. Both of you are correct, true mothers of this baby. So what I will do now is that I will call the servants, go and bring me a sharp sword. I'm going to divide the baby into two. So one mother will have one side, another one will have another side. The envious and pretending mother who is not the actual mother say, yes, you got it, yes, that is it. Divide the baby into two. Let us be settled in this way. I'll have half, she will have half. This is the best way to settle this case. The real mother of the baby cried, please don't do this. Please don't do this. The king said, why? Because I believe that you are the mother, and I believe she also is the mother of the baby. So both of you will have half. The real mother said, no, don't divide the baby into two. Why? Because the baby will be dead. Because she's a real mother, she felt the baby is going to be killed. The pretender, the cheater, was happy because why she's happy? When the baby is divided into two, the baby will be dead. So she has no child, another mother has no child. So the king smiled. Yes, you are the real mother. So everybody applauded. Everybody was so happy with the decision of the king, how he intelligently handled the issue. It was highly appreciated by everyone in the audience. Everybody appreciated and applauded the justice of the king. So naturally, the baby was returned to the real mother. If he were a person who has no chance for the citizens and considering every difficulty as a problem for him, he wants to settle everything so everybody can go and give him chance to do his nonsense. He wouldn't have gotten this wisdom to settle the case in a perfect, benefiting manner as he did. So a leader needs a careful scrutiny to go deeper to underline, to determine the underlying cost of everything. Everything. Scrutiny is important. So the practice of careful scrutiny will encourage you to examine all facets of a particular circumstance. Ramachandra does this. He would never sit down once he enters into his office, he would never sit down until he get the information that no one has an issue, that everyone is satisfied before he will sit down or continue the day. Very, very careful. And one day when he sent last man to go and check, last man went and came and said, oh, my dear Lord, no problem, everybody's satisfied. The Ramachandra said, no, you should go again, I want to be sure. Go again. He was not just satisfied with the information given. He wanted to be sure. So when last man went back the second time, he saw something he didn't see in the first place. So Ramachandra accepted everything casually. What will happen to the citizen who had difficulty and wanted to see the Lord? He would have been able to notice that. Thomas China was careful that he always go beyond the surface to look at the cause of the situation. So it's very important for a leader to look deep behind everything. Usually for an experienced doctor, when something happens, just go, oh doctor, I have headache. I have serious headache. It's painful headache. Another person go, oh doctor, I have serious headache, serious. I couldn't sleep in the night. An experienced doctor will not give you both of you the same medicine. He will not. An experienced doctor will carefully examine both cases, although it is the same symptom, headache, but he will check to discover what is causing this and what is causing that. Maybe somebody having a headache because they stay very tight because they have serious anxiety for this. Or somebody is having a headache because of the polluted ether in the air and environment. Somebody has a headache. So the symptoms, the causes of things are not the same. Therefore, the experienced doctor will not give the two patients the same medicine. He will give differently. And even if he gives the same medicine, the dosage will not be the same. So we see that some patients come to the hospital. They have a chronic sickness. Not everybody will have a chronic sickness, even though both are sick. So the situation is different. And it is important for the leader to see this, to look at this very carefully, so we can be able to see exactly what is happening. The practice of careful scrutiny will encourage you to examine all facets of a particular circumstances, taking into consideration the tensions, problems, motivations that may not be immediately apparent.
It's 3 o'clock.
Allows you to recognize when appearances do not tell the world the whole story. For example, when the successes reported to you by a subordinate are deliberately distorted to create a false sense of achievement. One good brother was telling a Gurudev, when all the leaders were asked to give account of update or different projects in different centers we're managing. So one temple person came and said, Gurudev, in our temples we have opened an account when I got there. Now we have 3 accounts. So we have about 4 bank accounts now. So when you hear that we have 4 bank accounts, that is wonderful. It means that, oh, you have money. But, so Gurudev did not say, Jai, very great. He said, out of the account you have, how much money do you have? How much money do you have in the account? The account you have. How much money do you have there? You have both 4 bank accounts. Very good. How much do you have? In one. No money. So it looked very, very nice. Like, we have 4 bank accounts. It's great. You have big money. There's no money in the account. It's simply open account. So a leader should not just be satisfied with the superficial report we get. This is not about the fact that the leader is doubting the followers. It's not about doubting. That is not the case here. It's about being careful in our leadership so that we don't neglect an important issues that need to be addressed, because tomorrow they are going to react in such a way that we will regret. So what's to be done today should be done today. Avoid the unnecessary situation. For example, some devotees are having issue. If you don't attend to it and leave them and feel unconcerned, When the problem will become very serious, it will disturb us. So it's not better to deal with it now than to wait until it becomes a serious issue going to affect everybody. So it's important for us to carefully scrutinize things. All right? Determining the online causes. After all, everything external has developed from the idea, from an idea. Yes, that is true. For example, you cannot call a person if you're not thinking of that person. So calling a person originates from the idea, from the fact that they are thinking of that person. If you cannot cook a particular disease if you're not thinking about that. One must be thinking of that before it will manifest externally. So everything has cause. I have example, Bharat Maharaj and a deer. The manifestation is that he had been thinking of a deer and developed an affection. It would have just happened haphazardly, from nowhere, just happened. That's a foolish man's theory. A fool's theory, like our foolish scientists. Everything happening in balance. There was nothing there. From nothing, I'm not working. I don't have any friend who is rich, has money. I have no parent who have money, and I'm not working. I didn't steal. I didn't beg, and from nowhere, money enter my pocket. Jai. Then you're a musician. You're a musician, but you're not a magician. But money just enter your pocket. Money cannot enter your pocket if you didn't work for it. So before anything happens, there must be something from behind. An internal experience that later becomes manifested in the physical world. You cannot write somebody a letter without thinking of the person. So everything has a beginning. Everything has a beginning. So a leader should not just take things superficially. So someone comes to give a report, example I did before. I was just sitting down myself peacefully. I was just chanting Hare Krishna and just fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and somebody's come and give me a knock on the head. Then you can say, yes, and the Dhira Maharaj was sitting in the meditation. He didn't even notice that the Gasamuni has come to visit him, and he cursed him. So what about that? That happened by chance. Nothing motivated it. He was simply meditating. He didn't see what is happening outside. Is it not? The Dhira Maharaj, he was sitting in meditation. Gasamuni came there and he cursed him. So he didn't do anything wrong. So that was the case. I was just sitting down, chanting, and somebody came and gave me a knock on the head. So I have come to report to you. So it's not by chance. It is not by chance. It's not by chance. The Dhira Maharaj was meditating. Gasamuni felt that he did not do his duty by giving a proper respect to a sadhu. So he didn't do his duty by respecting a sadhu. The duty of a king that when a sadhu comes, so everyone Upon seeing a sadhu, should show a proper respect. Failure to do that, the consequences is for a great sage, there will be a cussing. And if it's not a great scale, not like that, but it's a pure devotee of Krishna who does not curse somebody, still there will be a reaction. So nothing happens without a cause. Careful planning involves breaking issues down into their most elementary component in order to identify their essence. Planning is required, and we should always understand that everything depends on how we plan things nicely. So leader look at things very carefully before he does. But I had the difficulty because we were meditating on a deer for long. So you know that accidentally he just became a deer. A deer just appeared to him because he was not thinking. No, he was thinking. We already discussed that to be careful with what you think, because what you think can become a reality. It will become a reality. Padma was thinking of a deer, and it became a reality that in the next bed he became a deer. All right? Identifying the universal principles. One useful way to become more perceptive about the underlying causes. One useful way to become more receptive about underlying causes, and therefore more effective in our endeavors, is to identify the common denominators and universal principles in each situation. Universal principles are those basic non-sectarian truths that exist independently of relative human perceptions. And that always operate for the benefit of the whole world, for everybody. So we have example here about the Gita was a universal principle. Bhagavad Gita has a non-sectarian philosophy, a teaching for everyone. Everyone. In other words, a leader should not be concerned with the sectarian. If you're a leader, then we should go beyond, because whoever is within our generation requires or needs our attention. As far as we have accepted the position to lead, whoever is there, so Papa said, who is a citizen? A person who is born in that country is a citizen. That means what? The animals are citizens, the plant and trees, insect and bees, they are all citizens. Not only human beings are citizens. Everyone in that country is a citizen. Therefore, everyone requires our protection. This universal truth is applicable for everyone, not only some people. So a leader, suppose you are a Hare Krishna devotee and become a president, or you are a prime minister of a country that other religious organizations are also there. You are a Christian person. Now you have Christians, you have Muslims, you have Buddhists, and you have other spiritual movement in your country. What will you do? Let all other religious organizations be closed down and turn to Hare Krishna temple? No, we cannot be a perfect leader in doing that, because we are interfering with human rights. So as a leader, we must know what is necessary, what is needed for everybody. What is that principle that it is common for everyone? Say everyone should be God conscious. That is universal. Everyone should be God conscious. Everyone should serve Krishna. That is universal. We call Krishna or God or whatever. That is universal principle for everybody. It is not a religion, but it's a principle that governs every living entity. And Bhagavad Gita is that kind of philosophy that is appealing to everyone, irrespective of our religious faith. Leaders who understand these universal principles and how to apply it so that we benefit everyone. That is why Hare Krishna devotees were not interested in being too familiar with a particular leader, political leader, because if you become attached to a particular political leader, he's not going to be eternal there. When that government comes down, another group of people enter there and they have noticed that he didn't support them, how would they feel about you? You have a difficulty in getting your things. Therefore, following this universal principle, the devotee should be neutral. In this case, to avoid unnecessary complications with the politicians. Right? We'll move forward. This person is an energy of God. Everyone. Each individual is an energy of God as you interact with people in the performance of your leadership duties. View each of them with concern and affection, remaining undisturbed by any abrasive personality traits. For example, we see is Maharaj Prithu. Maharaj Prithu is a perfect example, as we have it. Why? He knew very well that not everyone was favorable to his government. Of course, majority, 95% accepted him fully and loyally surrendered to him. There's some small amount of people, like 5% in the country. So in the Bhagavatam, you will hear Sukadeva Goswami mention that Prithu Maharaj was such a great personality like the fire that his enemies cannot come near to him. But he didn't see them enemies. He see them as an unfortunate beings who need also his attention. Also, it is important to remember that anger and frustration produce distorted or diminished perceptions. And on the physical level, even hypertension, neurosis, or ulcers. Instead, if you see everyone as an energy of God, you can make steady progress in all your leadership endeavors, performing necessary actions without being distracted by anyone, friend or foe. We are discussing principles which are very, very high. And it is very important for us because we are expected to be very high. Otherwise, we cannot live perfectly. To have this, to come to this level, requires a heavy amount of practice, serious practice, very determined in our consciousness. To be able to see everyone in relationship with Krishna. We have already discussed this. To be able to see the God principle in all living entities, which is the principle of unity and diversity. If you don't have this energy, this ability, if you don't have this quality, you cannot be a perfect leader. And we are going to be constantly in anxiety, and anger. As a result of that, we develop hypertension, neurosis, ulcers, and other varieties of sickness will come. Because they are the one who will always put us on our feet. Because we are careful, they are going to disturb us. So we will do things very carefully to avoid this. Otherwise, we are going to relax and act whimsically. If we want to make advancement, there is an exercise that all of us should make. Very powerful exercise. This powerful exercise is that we don't see ourselves. When we're doing everything, we don't see ourselves. The people who are not inside us will see better. So how do we see ourselves? If you want to see yourself individually, what do? You get a separate mirror. But the separate mirror will always see the external things. How do we see the subtle things which need to be addressed through our action? What is inside? We have already discussed it before. What is inside will manifest outside. How do we actually see? You should ask somebody who has been with us for some time. So, I'm going to go this exercise we did some time back. You can always do this if you want. You can practice it because it's very, very helpful. To ask, we have been together for many years, to give us feedback about how they perceive our actions. When I do this, I don't ask those who claim to be my well-wishers. I don't ask them. This is what I did. I didn't ask those who claim to be well-wishers. I went to ask people who are against. Why that? The people who seem not to like you, who are always against you, they're the one who will tell you the truth. But those who seems to be the friend, oh, Prabhu, you are the best devotee in the world. Oh, I'm the society today because of you. If not because of you, I would have lived long time. They won't tell you the truth. But those whom we consider, or who consider themselves not to be our well-wishers, yeah, Prabhu, sit down. I think you should bring a notebook. Let me enumerate all the demonic qualities you have. Bring a notebook and bring more virus so you can write. Or bring a recorder. Maybe enumerate them. You are like this, you are like this, you are like this, you are like this. But actually, these are the people who tell the truth. They will tell something which is really beneficial for us. That's how we can see ourselves. Our friends, they will not tell us the truth. They are going to tell that because if I tell you that you are like this or this, tomorrow you'll not be my friend again. So to keep our friends out, yeah, you are the best devotee in the world. In fact, I have not seen a devotee like you for in my life. It's the first time I'm getting a person like you. So I'm very, very satisfied with my Krishna consciousness. That's a flattery, which is not good. So in this way, in the actual sense, we will see that those whom we consider our foes are playing a very, very powerful role in our progress in Krishna consciousness. That is the reason why the highly elevated personalities who knows this principle and apply it in their life would be very careful with how we do with everybody. Next. The life force in all creation. The same universal principle. The life force in each person is connected with the life force present in all creation. When you grasp this idea, you understand that the way to influence the collective life force is by channeling and controlling your own life force. This principle takes you beyond superficial appearances, where everything may seem separate, to discover the deep connections that link you and those you lead with all life. Nothing is separate from Krishna. There's nothing. We are eternally and consciously connected with Krishna. Here we see the picture here. Everything is eternally connected with the Super Soul. A leader needs to see this, not just the physical body. That is why our politicians cannot help anyone, because they simply see the body. They don't see anything. Therefore, they provide, or they promise, they don't do anyway, but they promise to provide so many material facilities, but none of them promise us the facility which is actually meant for us, because they don't know who we are. But a Raja Rishi, a perfect leader, knows beyond the physical body. Therefore, he sees everyone in connection with Krishna. And because of that, they have the clear understanding how to connect everyone with the Super Soul. And this is one of the glories of Maharaj Rantidev. And in his kingdom, Maharaj Rantidev engaged everyone in Krishna consciousness, everyone, because he sees everyone to be eternal servant of Krishna. Therefore, he engaged everyone in Krishna's service, without considering that everyone has become Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, he engages in that way. He did not preach that we're all Krishnas now. So Rantidev Maharaj is a perfect example for this. Next, the life force in all creation. Yes. The connection between your own life force and the universal one also mean that unlimited achievements are possible. That's the benefit. That's the benefit. On our own, what can we do? In the material world, I think in the material, this slogan is there. One with God is majority. And Srila Prabhupada said, everything plus Krishna is Vrindavan. So when we are connected with Krishna, everything is possible. Why is that? Because you are always in contact with the common reservoir of power, intelligence, and love. This is Krishna, it's the super soul already mentioned. Therefore, for us to go deeper, to really appreciate it, to really understand this, we should not just hear something and leave it. We should hear something and have a deep contemplation. And this will take us to the professional stage. What is the deepest truth of this situation? How is it related to other phenomena? What is my relationship to this? And how can a higher good result from this? Contemplation. We should meditate deeply. That means we have. These are not just ordinary questions. These are real contemplation that we have, that will take us to the destination we are going to do, or beyond the superficial. We go beyond the superficial. We go to the reality, go to the root of everything. Next. Recognize the source of all beauty. The sight of something beautiful can help you appreciate the beauty of its origins. It is not so common. It is not so common that, like it is like we already discussed. Whenever we are dealing with an issue, we are seeing something, we should ask the questions. And that question will take us further. That question will lead us to this platform. And whenever we see something beautiful, something attractive, something wonderful, this contemplation will help us to think, what does the artist want to express through this? The external situation is just a way of producing more introspection. And that introspection allows you to discover a greater number of internal truths, an appreciation that adds to the quality of
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we're facing some network connectivity issues. Srila Gurudev will shortly be joining back in the session. So we request you all to stay logged in. Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev. Srila Gurudev, are you able to unmute yourself?
yes,
Yes, Srila Gurudev.
yes. What does the artist want to express through this? It's a message. So it's always a message. So what does Krishna want to do? Is telling us through his duty, not just for nothing. What's the reason? He is all attractive because he wants to bring everybody to him. So I still look at the universal principle. So introspection is always necessary for a leader. As he says here. Why? Because the introspection allows us to discover a greater number of internal truths and appreciations that add to the quality of our leadership in our life. And that will also help the life of others. Introspection. That is where we have Raja Rishi. Everything to help us to think about this. Next. So we have the technique to control lust. When you see an attractive person of the opposite sex, instead of becoming bewildered, confused, and losing your equilibrium, control yourself by meditating on the source of this attractiveness. How to do that? As a leader, you are required to maintain your equilibrium at all times, going beyond the temptations of the senses, a desired object of gratification in the material world. Your task is to seek deeper experiences and higher connections that are attainable through proper regulation and control of the senses. It is not just a philosophy, and it's not something that just come easily. We have to really do it. We have to really do our homework to come to this. If we don't have a serious training, we cannot just come to this platform. We must have a serious.
Sorry, Srila Gurudev, we are not able to hear you. I think, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Srila Gurudev, we can hear you.
Okay. Can hear from here.
Srila Gurudev, actually, I think the second device which is connected, so from there we are, I'm asking you to unmute from there. If you could just click on that, then we'll be able to hear you.
Yes, I'm muted from here. Can you hear me here?
Yes, Srila Gurudev, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. This one has come out. Before it was hiding, now it has come out. Okay. So this is not something we don't. What is happening?
Yes, Srila Gurudev, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Serious practice is required to come to this level. That the moment I see something attractive, I will think about a person behind what is before me. Since along we have been discussing going beyond the superficial, not just things on the surface. We should go beyond. We have discussed this. This practice, it takes us to this point. If we have been practicing deep contemplation about everything, not just taking things by the surface, then we can gradually come to this level. At this point, we will see everything in connection with Krishna. When I see something that this is the Prabhupada has carefully done for us, we don't realize it, but what Prabhupada did imperceptibly, very, very hard. For example, for every person, for every conditioned soul, when we see something, anything that we see, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how can I get something from this object, this person, or something for myself? Naturally, for a man, this girl is very good for me. For a woman, this man is so nice. I should find a way to get him. This car, so hey, this is very nice, beautiful car. Oh, great, this is such a beautiful apple. I'll make a very good use of it. It's my lunch. I need this. Oh, tomorrow breakfast. Oh, great, oh, look at this flower. It's good. And decorate myself. Not Krishna. I'll decorate myself. So for a condition, so when we see something, the first thing that comes to the mind is how to get it for myself. And Srila Prabhupada did something which we don't see physically. What did he do? Srila Prabhupada has given us a book in hand. As a devotee, you carry a book in hand. When you see someone in the street, what do you think? It's a conditioned soul was suffering like I have been suffering before I got the chance to get to Krishna consciousness. So instead of seeing a boy or instead of seeing a girl, now I'm seeing, it's a Krishna part and parcel. You take a book. It's a very powerful thing Prabhupada did for us. Change our consciousness, change our perception. It is only through this deep practice that we'll be able to see everything in connection with Krishna, that I will not be affected by whatever I see. A devotee is going to preach and he's seeing so many people sitting there, but boys and girls, but I'm preaching in the back of my mind, I'm preaching and looking at out of this girl, which am I going to get? Only by this practice we come to this platform of, oh, this is so beautiful. They has nicely painted this. We cannot just see an artwork without thinking about the painter. We're thinking the experience of a painter. So we must constantly hear. Constantly hear. We must constantly hear. We must constantly practice. We have to follow this process, this system. Careful scrutiny. Then it will lead us to this stage where we are, that we will not be bewildered by our senses. I will be able to see everything in connection with Krishna and make the best use of that. We will see Krishna as the source of all beauty and appreciate him in all his creations, his creatures. Next, pleasure seeking. It is not artificial. Living entities are seeking for pleasure. It's not artificial. It is real. The problem is that we don't know what it is. The idea is there, the truth is there, but we have forgotten how to get there, what it really is. Therefore, because to say that there is a golden mountain, it means that if you don't see a golden mountain, but to see a mountain before you talk about golden mountain or what? Yes, a golden mountain. You're not seeing a golden mountain, but before you can say a golden mountain, there must be a mountain. Although it's not gold, but it will be a mountain. Similarly, for someone to seek for pleasure, there is a pleasure. The fact that we don't know what it is, but there is. That is why we have the idea of seeking for it. People are always involved in pleasure seeking. Pleasure seeking is behind all of humanity's multifaceted activities. We cannot do anything without thinking about what we're going to get for our own pleasure. The impetus for every action is the pleasure we will get from nothing. It is as if they were trying to arrange their lives to allow themselves to suffer more peacefully. If we don't know what is pleasure, and this is what is happening in Manchester, if we don't know what it is, this is what is happening. This is a true picture of what is happening. There is a pleasure, but we don't know how to get it, what it actually is. We simply hear about it because the soul is naturally a pleasurable entity. As we mentioned before, suffering is not natural. Old age, disease is not natural. Death is not natural. Poverty is not natural. Ugliness is not natural. What is natural is beauty. It's natural. Pleasure, satisfaction, peace is natural for the soul. But we are in the wrong environment. Therefore, people are seeking for it in the wrong way. However, no matter what they do, they will ultimately be in pain if they do not penetrate deeper levels of consciousness and seek higher levels of experience. This is a problem. We are superficially looking for it. We don't look for it deeply from the root. As we said before, there's a need for training. A leader must be trained. And Prabhupada has started the training by establishing ISKCON. To make Brahmanas means what? We have to train us to become Brahman, become qualified. It's a training. We don't just become by initiation, but by qualification. Initiation is to facilitate that. So we see people are externally smiling, but inside, tense of always an anxiety. Of course, it will manifest. It will manifest in our daily speech, our daily vision, perception, our actions. It will manifest. It will show in everything that we do. So we are actually preparing ourselves for, don't say words. We are allowed themselves to suffer more peacefully. But nobody knows this. What I'm doing is going to put me in anxiety. Everybody thinks that I'm doing this so I can become very happy. But we don't know that we're doing this to become more in anxiety. This is what is happening everywhere in the world. Therefore, it is necessary for us to understand this. Yeah. People have the choice of either attain the awareness to attain the genuine experience of such pleasures, or of using artificial means such as drugs, alcohol, or other probes to avoid the issue. You can take drugs, can take pills. All this is simply increasing what we are trying to avoid in the beginning. What we are trying to avoid, we are simply increasing them by all these unnecessary things. This is what people are doing. But the real thing is what people has introduced for us. The real thing. As a leader, you can help create an atmosphere in which people begin to experience the higher pleasures. And Prabhupada did this. So he created the happies from the hippies. Perfect master, perfect plan, perfect result. He brought life. Can we imagine what our lives would have been by now without the Krishna consciousness? How can we sufficiently thank Srila Prabhupada for what he did? Breaking all unnecessary barriers to bring us to this point. Removing away completely from their superficiality, from all the unnecessary things, from suffering, and brought us to this platform of doing something which people cannot do without artificial pushes. And people cannot dance without alcohol. In Harikeshan temple, we dance without any intoxication. Expression of the joy. That you never see anywhere. People cannot dance without being intoxicated. They need something to motivate them. They can't do anything without taking drugs. To be in a different mood, to experience something. And pleasure does not depend, happiness doesn't depend on external things. It doesn't. The common which we have been at is to go deeper into the reality, to go deeper into reality, to be connected with this absolute truth, to seek beyond, avoiding artificial means. All through our discussion is going to this is the word. Avoid all these unnecessary things and go to the real thing, the reality. Next. God in the heart. God is present in everyone's heart. An idea that was discussed at the beginning of this book. God, the presence behind all things, is guiding and monitoring each person at all times. No one is alone. Therefore, there is no accident. There is no accident. Everything has been perfectly arranged by Krishna. God runs a very orderly universe, so orderly that one can set a watch or calendar by its movement. That is they say, okay, calculations came to exist. Calculation cannot function without the perfect organization of Krishna. Therefore, the idea that everything is gone by chance is completely nonsense. And the philosophy propounded by fools that cannot be repaired. Everything is perfectly arranged by God. Perfect. And he's in the hand, therefore he rewarded exactly as we are thinking, willing, and feeling. He responds exactly. No one is not seen or not known. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, I know everything and everyone completely, but for me, no one knows. Why? Because it's the origin of everything, and we are originated from him, so he knows everything completely. There is nothing which is known by God. Nothing. With this understanding, we'll be able to do things very carefully, knowing fully well that Our actions are being monitored and the reward is not to come. Therefore, because we don't want to unnecessarily misbehave and do something wrong, which is to cause us to suffer peacefully, we want to have a peaceful, sweet life, full Krishna consciousness. Therefore, this is necessary to always remember that Krishna is in the heart doing what? Watching everything completely, and he will give us permission for everything that we want to do, as well as the result of our sinful activities or pious activities. Hare Krishna. God in the heart, good or bad, regardless of how someone perceives a situation, a greater master plan is unfolding. Good or bad is according to how we see things. We see things according to the level of what we are. If someone is putting a blue goggle, everything you see will be. If someone is using brown, everything you see will be brown. If someone is using white, everything you see will be white. It's according to the level of our consciousness we're going to perceive things. The Lord expresses love through the chastisement in the form of inevitable consequences that karmic law imposes on those who stray from the paths. Such chastisement functions as a means to develop the proper character and behavior. Therefore, seemingly negative situations have their role in the scheme of creation, offering the potential to be ultimately beneficial. Punishment we have already discussed. Punishment we already discussed. Suffering is very good because it helps us to correct ourselves. It helps us to check ourselves. It helps us to come to the point of realizing that we are not free, we are not independent, we are responsible for everything that we do. Therefore, we are not doing someone else's difficulty, we are actually doing ourselves. The philosophy Suniti preached to her son, do not wish anyone bad. Do not wish anyone bad. Because whatever we wishes other must surely come back to us. So foolishly, one things, I'm going to mistreat this person, I'm going to punish this person. A leader, a king should punish the subject to correct us so we can come to our senses and do what is right for our own self, not for the leader, but for our own good. So whatever we think is bad is good for us because it will help us to correct ourselves so we can do the right thing. That is necessary for the king, for a leader. But apart from a leader, a foolish person thinking that I'm doing somebody else bad is actually ignorance, it's illusion. Because whatever we do to others, it is actually done to ourselves. It will come back. It must come back. And it will be back. It cannot be checked. It will be back. So in this way, we simply suffer for nothing. Therefore, it is important. It's important for us to recognize the Lord in the heart, who is witnessing, balancing everything, and he's going to send back everything which we have. If you enter a kitchen to cook, you are going to eat the food you cook. You are going to eat it. You will eat it. All right? Of course, this does not mean that God is wishing people bad. It is not like that. It doesn't mean that he is not careful, he's planning evil for people. No, God cannot do that. It is we who are doing the wrong thing. And his duty is to use that wrong thing to correct us so we can learn our lesson and become a proper servant, proper devotee, servant. Value of universal principles is very important. How is this important for us? What is important for us? No matter what capabilities you possess as a leader, your duty is to determine how to get the most effective use from what the Lord has provided. One way to accomplish this is to practice delving more deeply into the universal principles and to develop the habit of looking beneath the surface in all situations. This has been the discussion right from the beginning. Look beyond beneath the surface. Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. Leave the external, look deeper. There is nothing happening without that thing being contemplated before. Everything has a beginning. With a regular practice, this process can help you gain a greater experience of God in any circumstances and can demonstrate that divine love is totally available whenever you are willing to accept it. Every experience then becomes liberating and beneficial because you understand that there is nothing but God, whose mercy is everywhere. This level of awareness brings happiness and joy. Next, see Prabhupada is there enjoying. See Radha Krishna, see Chamako Haridas, see Prabhupada Ki. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Srila Gurudev, thank you so much. And we have Pranhari Prabhuji raising his hand now for the question and answer session. So, Pranhari Prabhuji, would you unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, nice to see you again, and thank you for all this information. And it's actually again, it's very difficult for me to follow, but I'll try. You know, it's very deep knowledge is required. So my questions are related to that only. First question is basically like as you mentioned, as a devotee, as a leader, is I'm allowed to judge others on basis of my limited knowledge. Is basically.
What's your question?
Okay, my question is basically that basically, as you mentioned, as a devotee and leader, you know, like sometimes we said, okay, we judge others. Are we allowed to judge other on the basis of our limited knowledge? Because we are still not able to understand ourselves. How can we understand others?
Okay. If we are not a leader, we should not do that. If we're a leader, we should do that because it is our duty. If we don't do that, how are we going to help people? It's part of our responsibility. But if we are not leaders, we should not. And if you see something that needs to be addressed, need attention, we should tell the authorities. They can look into it and make the necessary correction. That is how we are brothers, sisters, keepers. Honestly, it's not my business. I don't have to judge. It's not about judging people. It's not about judgment. It is about helping, caring. I care for you guys. If I don't have to wait until you are burnt at the reaction of unnecessary activities. No, it should be mentioned. It should be mentioned. As a friend, if you have it's a viceroy ticket. If you have, I say we are close as a friend, we can do that. But the person that we are not close with, we should not do that. We can tell. It's not judgment. I'm repeating that. It is here. Should be done because we need to help each other to move forward in our Christian cause. If you don't do that, it is envy. It is also hard-heartedness. But for a leader, it is very important you must take action immediately. Look at Parikshit Maharaj. When he saw Kali, immediately he took action. I cannot leave you. Even the demigods who are supporting you to do this, go and tell them that I'm ready to fight with all of you because I cannot allow this to happen. It was stopped. Right?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, one more question. Sorry, when we hear this leadership lecture, actually there are many things coming up. Now, I find myself that I have done a mistake in past, which is not just being a kind of a limited knowledge as again. So now this, what are the more things we have to do regularly to contemplate ourselves, understanding the deep root of the spirituality or relationship?
I think we should regularly do. First of all, we have to strengthen our daily sadhana. We have had so many things. Everything we're hearing every day. We have discussed so many things for this leadership discussion. Every day we should practice them. There is assignment which we give every course. The assignment for every duty to practice, beginning from the 10 technologies in the beginning. These things is an exercise we should do every day. That will help us to come to reality. As I mentioned before, we started this today. We started discussing from we should scrutinize things very carefully and don't do things superficially. Whatever happens, we carefully examine it first before we take action. So these things we should do every day. It's not something we'll do sometime. It's part of our life. And we mentioned that it is only when we start practicing this thing that will help us to come to a point of seeing God's essence in all existences. That we'll be able to see everything in relationship with Krishna. Everything has a beginning. We have to practice. So these things we have to practice every day. Otherwise, we don't just wait one day and then I'll start seeing things like this. Should do every day.
Right, Maharaj.
Yes.
Thank you.
It is not that we can do if we cannot do it, then it should not be discussed. For us to discuss this means that Krishna is there to help us to do it. It's a question of hearing these things and think about them deeply. We already discussed that. Think about these things deeply. It's part of our Krishna consciousness because we are leading in so many ways. I did our own personal life, we are leading in so many people's life. We have to have these qualities, and these qualities will come by hearing regularly and practicing and following them. Then we'll develop these qualities as we grow every day.
Yes.
So it is possible, that's why we're doing it. And yes, it is good because when we look at the mirror, we will see what has not been done, what needs to be done. This is what we should see from this discussion. And that will help us to, oh, okay, I didn't do this. Oh, I've done the question not correct. Now I'll do the right thing. This is what we should do every day. Now it's check and balance. Now I'm checking myself and say, okay, this not be done. Now I have to do this. And continue to do that. This is the way we can make advancements. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Shila Gurudev. We have one more question. This is from the chat box. Smataji saying, Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj. Karmi does not follow principles we understand, but how can we explain the fact that devotees sometimes initiated have problem to follow regulative principles? They are eating prasad and chanting and hearing and everything together. So she wishes to understand that how can we explain this fact to the devotees. Thank you very much.
Yes, it is a perplexity that devotee is initiated, is chanting, and doing some service, and he cannot kill the principles. So it looked like it's a very bad message we're sending to people that what you're doing is not working. But the truth about this is that a person who sincerely chants, hears, and taking prasadam is seeing the deities and doing service, associating. A person who sincerely does these things must have the strength to overcome all our difficulties. Padma Purana said, to overcome all offenses and chanting, once we chant more and more chanting will give us strength to rise above our weaknesses. But that is chanting. So this principle is there. The problem is that we simply carry the beat and we are not attentive in chanting. We are chanting, but we are not working on ourselves. So about to not Takura says, we are chanting, we should work on ourselves. We are chanting, but we don't work ourselves. What does it mean working on ourselves? I'm chanting, okay, I should start thinking negatively. I should start practicing thinking. I should give up thinking negatively. I should still feel bad about if such a thought comes. Oh, I feel sorry about it, and that will eliminate it. We're working on ourselves. Okay, I'm chanting now. I should stop having bad association. Many devotees are chanting, but they're still doing negative things. Therefore, there is no strength for them to overcome that weakness. Therefore, when we said, it seems that, oh, this is not working. That is why this person is not changing. It is working, but the person is not changing because they're not practicing nicely. But the person does not have interest in changing. The person is still enjoying the sinful or the bad habit. We should maintain it. Some people, due to the movement, immediately they give out the bad habit. But some people are chanting, but they're not giving it up because they are still enjoying it. They're not tired about it. They're not convinced that if I give these things, I have a better taste. So it is not that if we're in a movement, we'll just immediately give over the bad habit. We have to practice nicely to be able to give it up. Many devotees are not doing that. In the temple, in association of devotees, we are pure devotees. We show ourselves as pure devotees. We can dress dirty very nicely. That is our material experience. It is not that we have become a pure devotee. But when we get back home, we are beating our children, we are beating the wife, we are looking at the mundane movies. We still associate with the mundane people, being internet nonsense. We're not giving them up. We don't have a desire to give them up. It is not that Krishna cannot help us. We have to put ourselves in a situation for Krishna to help us. We're not doing that. Therefore, we'll see all these things, and they're giving people a bad signal. I mentioned before that if we don't make advancement, we are discouraging other people. If you don't make advancement, we are discouraging other people, because when Krishna will expose us, people will see, oh, Krishna not protecting his devotees. Why this person been a movement for 100 years, have done this, have done that. Is such a powerful devotee. When he speaks, everybody will cry, leave the movement. And people are using their material abilities, not spiritual ability. So we must make advancements, because that will encourage other people. And Krishna sees the thing which we don't do, which is inside. Krishna sees that, and Krishna will respond to that. So we discourage Krishna in the heart. He is witnessing everything, and he will give us the reward. So he doesn't make mistake. All right.
Yes, Srila Gurudev. Srila Gurudev, we have Krishna Mohini Mataji raising her hand. So Mataji, could you please unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev, please accept our humble obeisances. Thank you so much for the class. Gurudev, you said that we should not judge people unless we are leaders. But Gurudev, sometimes our judgmental propensity is so spontaneous that without even realizing we judge people. So how to avoid that?
Yes, because we have been used to it for a long time, so it's just come out. When you come like that, we can pray to Krishna, oh, please help me to avoid this. We should pray to Krishna. If we do that, and Krishna sees that we are tired of it, we don't want it again, he will take it out. Hare Krishna. My humble obeisance, I did notice. Please, Gurudev, why is it that anything we see in this material world, we fail?
Hare Krishna.
There's a question here from Kapil Prabhu. Kapil. Why is it that anything we see in this material world, we first think of how to gain from it, like you said? Sometimes when we go on Sankirtan, preaching to many people, our mind goes on how to get the beautiful one among them for ourselves. Because we have been very, very selfish, we're always self-centered. Therefore, we don't think about how to benefit someone. We always think about what is good for us. This is selfishness. That has been our nature for a long time. But coming to Krishna consciousness now, our charities are training us how to see opposite. Now we see people, we take a book. This is changing. So we are doing the opposite now to go back to the original nature. So by practicing this regularly, we are gradually getting purified, and eventually we'll be free to come to the point of seeing everything. We'll be thinking about the welfare of other people. We'll be seeing people, how to help people, no more how to help ourselves. Selfishness is destroyed, and selflessness will become our preoccupation. All right. Yes. Next question.
Shama Mohita Mataji was, I think, greeting you. So, Mataji, you have a question? Then you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, Srila Gurudev, I don't think she has a question. Jayati Mataji has a question. If she could just unmute and ask the question. Jayati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and thank you for such a nice class, Maharaj. I wanted to ask you about something you mentioned about pleasure seeking. That is what is incentivizing us for doing, bad things or anarthas. But Maharaj, isn't being pleasure seeking part of our original nature as well? So,
Huh?
isn't being pleasure seeking part of our original nature as well? Like, is that in covering, or is it part of our original nature? Part one. And second thing is that even when we are doing services for Krishna, there are certain services that give us pleasure. So are we being selfish there, or is that bhakti or is that selfishness? So
We have mentioned before that it is natural. Pleasure is natural for the soul, it's part of the soul. Suffering is not natural. So that is part of the soul. We are suffering is not natural. So it is there. And it is not new. The problem is that we don't know how to enjoy it. So we are, in the name of trying to get what is natural for us, we are doing it artificially. Therefore, nobody gets it. Only in Christian consciousness we can get it, because it is Christian property and we have to please Krishna before he can give it to us. And then the second part about is about when we do service for Krishna, we feel pleasure in doing it. Yes. If we, what do we see in Nectar of Devotion? Daruka was finding Krishna, and the ecstasy in doing that service was coming. It's affecting his service. So the devotee would not like to allow anything to affect his or her service. When we do something good, we practice Krishna consciousness. Yes, we're going to be happy. We're not going to be sad because Krishna consciousness. No, it will bring us happiness, joy. But that is not the purpose. That is not the purpose. It's a byproduct. And it naturally come, just like our shadow will naturally follow the object. But we don't go for the shadow. We are concerned with the object. Because without the object, there is no shadow. So our service to Krishna is most important. And any interference, we would like to avoid it, so we can do our service. In other words, we should
Gurudev, we are sorry, but your voice is not coming. Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev.
all right, can you hear me?
Yes, Srila Gurudev, we can hear you now.
Yes, so that is the motivation. Not just the motivation, let me go and enjoy myself. That is secondary. First of all, let us give Krishna pleasure. All right? Hare Krishna.
thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev. Srila Gurudev, we have one question from Venkatesh Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaj. What is proper way for contemplating an introspection?
The proper way to contemplate is, for example, we have had, we should not be attracted by the externals. So we're hearing, we shouldn't be attracted by the externals. Okay, so this message has been given. The next thing is to introspect. To introspect that. So every beautiful thing has the origin from the supreme beautiful personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This is contemplation. This is going deeper into that. So we're thinking about that. And we're analyzing that. Yes. The more we go, the better, because that is taking us closer to Krishna. It's a contemplation. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur said in Chaitanya Bhagavat, when devotees hear something, when devotees hear, they contemplate, they're meditating on that, analyzing it within the heart, and they're praying, when will this become my own life? When will this become my own life? I wish like this. Everything I'm hearing about Krishna, this should become a reality for me. Thinking about this is contemplation. This should be done regularly. So it's a meditation that will help us to take us from outside into in the inside, which is a reality. Krishna, the source of all beauty, the source of everything. It's a reality. Reality is beautiful. All right?
Yes, Gurudev. Venkatesh, does that answer your question?
Next.
Yes,
If
sure.
you,
Gurudev. Sure, Gurudev, yes, he's back.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Sure, Gurudev. So, with this, I think the questions for today have ended. And like we were discussing with you, we would like to share it with all the devotees that the next session we'll be having is going to be a question and answer sessions. We have a few questions from the previous two sessions on leadership. And also, like Srila Gurudev was mentioning today, that we wish to reflect and somewhere apply these teachings in our own lives. So, our next session is going to be a combination of the question and answer session, starting with that. And part two is going to be, we have some set of devotees regularly attending the sessions. So, we would request you all to kindly share your reflections, and starting from raising consciousness to developing skills and the 10 technologies we have all heard together from Srila Gurudev. So we request all devotees to come up with certain reflections from all that we've been hearing in these 7 day sessions. And also, one thing that we would like to pick up in our own lives and mindfully practice that in the forthcoming week. So we thank Srila Gurudev very much for giving us these priceless teachings and making it available to us. We hope we have an enthusiastic participation from all the devotees in the next session. So, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, Srila Gurudev, for your time and your wonderful class today. His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Thank you so much, Srila Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.